Hey friends, what's up? And welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Chav Beis, Daf 22 of Masechta Taanis. So it probably sounds like I'm not doing so good because I can't say 3 words without coughing, but the truth is I'm actually doing pretty okay. Today I was actually feeling alright for the first time in a little bit, but what happens is at night, I think all of a sudden, I was doing good the whole day, then all of a sudden like at night, I just started coughing a whole bunch. So anyways, so apologies in advance for all the coughing, but maybe it'll just kind of spice it up a little bit and make sure, maybe it'll keep you engaged. Anyways, I still got a little bit of a cup of tea over here, but it's going to run out. Anyways, let's start on Daf Chav Beis, Amud Aleph, Masechta Taanis, another gewaltige daf over here. We're 2 lines in to the wide lines on Daf Chav Beis Amud Aleph. Rebroka Chozah, friends, do you hear this? This is the most amazing thing in the world. Rebroka Chozah. So Rebroka, Rashi says, from the place of Chozah, from Bei Chozai, have a shchiach b'shuk dvei lefet. He would often be in the market of Bei Lefet. Have a shchiach Eliyahu Gabe. Eliyahu Hanavi would frequent Rebroka Chozah. Amalei Ikabai Shuka Bar Alma Da'asi. And Rebroka Chozah asked Eliyahu Hanavi, is there a fellow here in the shuk that is a fellow who is going to be in the world to come? So Amalei Lo. So Eliyahu Hanavi says 9. He says no. And then, sure enough, they saw a certain fellow, and this fellow was wearing black shoes. Okay? He wasn't wearing tzitzis either. Biglime on his cloak. So Eliyahu Hanavi says, him, this guy, there. And Rebroka is like, who? This guy here? He's like, yeah, that guy there. He's gonna go to Olam Haba. So Rad Basre. So Rebroka Chozai ran after this fellow. And he says, fellow, what do you do? Tell me. The fellow says, go away for now, come back tomorrow. Alright? So Rebroka found this fellow the next day, and he says, fellow, what do you do? Tell me epis about yourself. He says, I'm epis a jailer. I work in the local jail, local prison. One second, shtickle tea. Alright, that's nice. And I imprison the men separately and the women separately. Alright? And I put my bed between the men and the women, so that nobody should end up having an encounter with somebody that they should not be encountering. And when I see that there's a Jewish girl that the that's interesting. I guess God doesn't want, David doesn't want me saying the word Gentile. But I just said it. Anyways, so whenever, so this fellow says that whenever he notices that the Gentile wardens are looking a little bit too much at a Jewish girl, so then I make sure to save her. One time there was Pasha and Naira Melrasa, a betrothed girl was in the jail. I don't know why. And the Gentile wardens were showing a little bit too much interest. So I took the lees, the dregs, what was left at the bottom of the wine, and I threw it on her dress. And I said she's a nida. and therefore if she was in Ida, so then the wardens would not be as interested anymore. My time and then Broka Choza asks this fellow, now, how come you don't wear tzitzis? How come you're wearing black shoes? Apparently the Yidden didn't wear black shoes. So how come you're doing these in Yonim? Amalei, shtickle tea. So Amalei, so the fellow says, I go in and out from among the Gentiles. And by not wearing tzitzis and by wearing black shoes, I can fool them. And now they have no clue that I'm a Jew. Alright. Weiter. And when the Gentiles make a decree, so I let the rabbis know that the Gentiles are making a decree. I guess this was like an early implementation of the Mossad. You have this fellow who would show up around the Gentiles without tzitzis on, and he would figure out all their secrets. All right. And then the rabbis would then daven and be mevatel the gezeris. All right. My time ki amina lachono my uvdach ve'amad li zilidna v'salamacher. How come when I asked you, hey, what do you do? Who are you? How come you said, go away now and come back tomorrow? Because it was just precisely at that moment that there had been a decree against the Yidden. And I said, let me go and I'll let the rabbis know about this decree. And then they could pray. Okay, so that was the story of this fellow. This fellow is going to Olam Haba. All right, sounds very interesting. Well, where are we? So, and in the meantime, there were another two people. Amalei, Hanoch Nami Bnei Amadasi. And Eliyahu Navi says that these two fellows are oichet. They're also going to be in the world to come. Azul Gabayu. So Reb Broka Choza went to these two fellows. He says, no, tell me epis about yourselves. They say we're jokesters, we're comedians. We make sad people happy. When I see two people, that they have some beef with each other, that they're not getting along, I make sure to make peace among them. And for that reason, he's going to go to the world to come. So, very, very interesting stuff over here. Alright. Is my coughing distracting you? If it is, I'll stop. So on these things, we cry out in all places. On these things we cry out in all places. Al shidofin, on what do we call them? Some kind of wind blasts. All right, Valairokin, and some kind of problem with the vegetables. And on different kinds of locusts. Valchai ro'a, and on a bad beast. Akiva oimer al shidofin valairokin b'choshu. The Kiva says that when we talk about wind blasts and this Yerokon disease, so it's any amount. And when it comes to these locusts, even if you only see one of them, it's enough that we cry out to the Eibishter for help. Alright? So Tanu Rabbanan, so the rabbis start the Maaseh. Chayra she'amu Bizman shimushulachas masrin aleh. So when we talk about this wild animal, it's when the wild animal has been sent from the Eibishter. That means it's a big problem, and we cry out, "Eina mishulachas Ein masvin aleh. But if it's not sent by the Eibishter for like negative purposes, so then we don't have to cry out. Ezui mishulachas, ve'ezui she'eina mishulachas. How do you know if this wild animal was sent by the Eibishter or not? Well, here is ba'ir mishulachas, basada eina mishulachas. If the wild animal is seen in the city, so that it's considered sent by the Eibishter for sinister reasons. Where am I? Basode, but if the wild animal was in the field, it's not sent by the Eibishter for sinister reasons. If the wild animal is seen during the day, so then it's a problem. Mishulachas, it's sent from the Eibishter. But balayla, if the wild animal is seen at night, it's not like sent by the Eibishter for sinister reasons. If the wild animal sees two people and chases after them, then that means it's sent by the Eibishter for negative reasons. But if the wild animal hid from them, so then it's not considered sent by the Eibishter for sinister reasons. If the wild animal tore up, killed two people, but only ate one of them, mishulachas, then it's sent by the Eibishter for negative reasons. But if it ate both of them, then it's not sort of negative because it was just hungry. What do you want me to tell you? But if it killed two and only ate one, so why did it kill the second one? Clearly it wasn't even hungry. It must be, it's like a negative decree. Also, if the wild animal goes up to a roof and takes a baby from a crib, so then that's bad. It means that it's sent by the Eibishter for negative purposes. Says the Gemara, Agufa Kasha. This, I don't understand this. The one that you said that if the wild animal is seen in the city, so it's considered sent by the Eibishter, regardless of what time of day you saw it. Wait, during the day it's mishulachas, during the night it's not. 1 second, I thought you said that if it's seen in the city, it's mishulachas, no matter what time. Then now you're talking about day versus night. How does this fit in? This is what it means. Nearest a boyer, that it means that if the wild animal is seen in the city, so if it's by yom, if it's during the day, mishulachas, it's sent by the Eibishter for sinister purposes. Balayla, so by your balayla ain't mishulachas, but if it's seen in the city at night, it's not anything to worry about, sort of on a larger level. Inami, or else basoda afilu bayom ain't mishulachas. During the, if it's in a field, then even if it's during the day, it's not mishulachas. All right. Ra'asa shnei bnei adam. If the wild animal saw two people, and chased after them, mishulachas, it's a bad sign. Ha'omedes, but if it doesn't move nowhere, so then mishulachas, it's no problem. But then you said nechbeis mipnei and mishulachas taka. If it hides from them, then it is not mishulachas. Ha'omedes mishulachas, but if it stays in the same place, then it's sent by the Eibishter. So on the one hand, we're saying that if it stays in the same place, it's not mishulachas. On the other hand, we're saying that if it stays in one place, the taka is mishulachas. Lokasha, it's no problem. Kam besoda asmucha la'agam, kam besoda she'en asmucha la'agam. Depends if the field was close to a marsh. If it was close to a marsh where it normally hangs out, so then it makes sense if it doesn't go anywhere because it feels comfortable. But if it's in some other place, then it would need to run away. If it doesn't, then it's mishulachas. Tarpa shnei bnei adam ke'echad. If the wild animal kills two people, v'achal echad mein, and only ate one of them mishulachas, then it's bad news. Shneim eina mishulachas, but if it eats both of them, then it's not mishulachas. So Amar tafilu ratzuso. 1 second, we said that even if it just chases after them, it's mishulachas. Forget about if it ate them. Amar papa kitane ayi ba'agmo. That when it's taught that it's not enough to run, but the wild animal would have to eat the people, that's in like a marshy area where it feels a lot more confident, so running isn't that big of a deal, but eating them is. Alright, sounds like fun. Gufa also lagag v'not l'tinok me'erisa mishulachas. Said if the wild animal goes up to the roof and takes up as a baby from the crib, so then it's considered a bad thing. So pshita, this is obvious. even in a situation when we're talking about not necessarily a regular house, but some like hideout place for hunters, and in that place, even if the animal got in and took the baby, so it's going to be a problem. So we said that if there's swords, then you gotta cry out to the Eibishter. So Tana one of the rabbis taught certainly if the sword that we're talking about is like there's an army coming against you they want to like kill you, so then obviously you call out to the Eibishter. But the chiddush is that even if it is a peaceful sword, that you don't have an example of a peaceful sword, a better example than Paro Necho. And even so, Yoshio messed up. Shenemar, as the pasuk says, that the Paro Necho sent messengers to Yoshio, saying, Liv Melech Yehuda. What, hey, what's the big deal? Look, I'm not looking to fight with you, says Paro Necho. Ki al beis milchamti. Right? I just need to go to my battlefield and I want to pass through your country. And my God said that I need to move quickly. Right? No, just chill out, and then if you let me pass through your country, my God won't kill you. What does it mean? When Paro Necho is talking about the God that's with him, so Yehuda Amarav says, well, that's idol worship. His gods. So Yoshio figured, look, this guy Paro Necho, he's putting his trust in Avodah Zarah, and if he's putting his trust in Avodah Zarah, then certainly I'll be able to defeat him. Vayora Ayorim, the Melech Yoshio, and the archers of Paro Necho shot arrows at Yoshio, and Vayomer HaMelech la'avodav haviruni ki echalesi, and Yoshio says, move me somewhere else because I'm sick. Ma'od, very sick. My ki echalesi, Ma'od, what does it mean that I'm very sick? Amar Yehuda, Amar Rab, says Yehuda in the name of Rab, that they made his entire body like a sieve, that the spears and the arrows just went right through his entire body and made lots of holes in the body. And it was not good at all. Amr Shmuel bar Nachmani, Amr Yonason, Mipnei Ma'anenesh Yoshio. How come Yoshio got punished? Because he should have asked advice from Yirmiyahu, but he didn't. My Darash, what did Yoshio assume? That the pasuk says in Sefer Vayikra that no sword will pass through your land. My cherif, what sword are we talking about? If we're talking about a dangerous sword, a sinister, evil sword, that same pasuk already says that there's going to be peace. So then what does it mean when it says v'cherev lo savor? What sword is passing through your land when there's peace? Ela afilu shel shalom. It's talking about that there won't even be peaceful swords. And Yoshio didn't realize that his generation wasn't necessarily on a super high level, and they weren't deserving of the peaceful swords to be innocuous. And therefore he made a mistake, and he thought that he did not need to let so there was the Paro Necho, and he was he wasn't necessarily looking to fight, he just wanted to pass through, and he thought that he wouldn't have to let him pass through Eretz Yisrael, but in the end he got killed because of it. And when Yoshio was dying, Yirmiyahu saw that Yoshio's lips were moving. Omar Yirmiyahu thought that maybe Yoshio was saying something not nice because he was in such a terrible predicament. Yirmiyahu leaned over to Yoshio, and he heard Yoshio that he was accepting his judgment upon himself. Yoshio says that the Eibishter is a tzaddik, is righteous, and I've rebelled against him. Pasach Alea Ushaitom. And Yirmiyahu then said, V'achapenu Mashiach Hashem. He said the verse of the breath of our noses, the Mashiach of the appointed one of God, which is a pasuk in Eicha that was composed by Yirmiyahu. Okay, so we see that even peaceful swords can be problematic, because after all, Yoshio was killed by what was essentially meant to be a peaceful sword. It says the Gemara, and that there was a Maisa, there was a story where the elders went from Jerusalem to their cities. When they say that they made a fast because they saw a oven's openings worth of shidafon, wind blast, so they want to know, is that like the filled up oven of grain or a filled up oven of bread? That filled up oven of bread is like not as filled up as if it's filled to the brim with grain. Tashma kaminir kimlo pitaner means like the filled up opening of the oven, which means that if it's filling up the opening of it, it means that it must be bread that has like actual form. Okay? Tashma okay, so vadai tibailu, we could still ask kisui de tanura oduma kidara de rifta. Okay, is it like a cover of an oven, or is it like a row of bread, the hadar le lefuma, that you put around the opening, the tanur of the oven teku? They say, I don't know. Okay, vod gazru Taanis al shachlu zeivim v'chule. They also made a fast day because these wolves ate these little kids. Amar ulas mishum Reb Shimon ben Yotzadok uah. It says Ula in the name of from Reb Shimon ben Yotzadok. Ma'isuvalu zeivim shnei tinokis. Oh, this is interesting. So there was a story that these wolves ate these babies, v'kium derech beisarei, and digested the babies, and then expelled the babies from their bodies in their excrement. Uva ma'isel fnei chachamim, and the rabbis heard about this. V'tiarus abasar v'timus atzomis, and they said, well, the flesh of the babies that's now being excreted from the wolves, so that's not going to be makabel tumah because it's just digested matter. But the bones that didn't get digested, so they have tumas ames. Alright? So in the following in Yonim, you could cry out on Shabbos. One of them always thought, if you have a city that was surrounded by Gentiles, or Nahor, or a river, or a boat that's having a hard time in the sea, or a yid that's getting chased by Gentiles, or by bandits, or by like craziness. Al kulan yachid rasha l'sagav satzma b'tainis, a fellow could fast. Rabbi Yossi Omer says, Rabbi Yossi and a yachid rasha l'sagav satzma b'tainis, says Rabbi Yossi, a person isn't allowed to fast too much because shamit starch lebrius, because maybe if he's fasting too much, he won't be able to be productive, and he's going to have to rely upon other people. And nobody's going to want to have mercy on him because he's doing it to himself. Amar Yehuda, Amar Rav says, Yehuda, in the name of Rav, my time with Rabbi Yossi. How come Rabbi Yossi says this? The pasuk says, "Vayodam nefesh chaya neshama shenesati b'chachayel." That the pasuk says that man was a nefesh chaya, a living soul. So neshama shenesati b'chachayel, that the neshama, the soul that I have given you, make it be alive. Don't fast too much. Shimon Atimni Omer Afal Adever Chule. Shimon Atimni says that you even cry out on Shabbos for pestilence. They want to know Lohodulo Chacham b'Shabbos Ava b'Chol Hodulo. When it says that the rabbis didn't agree with Shimon Atimni, is that specifically on Shabbos they didn't agree with him, but during the week for pestilence you would cry out? Or maybe they didn't agree with him at all, even if it was during the week, you wouldn't cry out for pestilence. Tashma, Ditanya, Masrin, Al Adover b'Shabbos, Al Adever b'Shabbos. The Brisa says that you are allowed to call out to the Eibishter regarding pestilence on Shabbos. Certainly you can call out to the Eibishter on Shabbos. Rabchanan ben Pitum, Talmidash Rabbi Kiva, Mishum Rabbi Kiva Omer, in Masrin Al Adever Kol Iker, that you don't cry out for pestilence at all. So it sounds like then they are arguing with Shimon HaTimni even during the week. The that you can cry out to the Eibishter for all sorts of things that happen except for too much rain. My time outcome, I'm Rabbi Yochanan Fishain, Mispalin Arava Tova. Says Rabbi Yochanan, because we don't pray for something that's too good that it should stop. V'amar Rabbi Yochanan Minayche Mispalin Arava Tova. How do you know that we don't pray for something too much of a good thing to go away? Shneimar, as the pasuk says, Avihu is called Amaisyo Beis Ha'otzer V'Gomer. Right, the pasuk that we saw earlier in the Masech. And it says in Malachi, bring all of the grain to the storage house. And then it says, right, what does it mean until you can't have enough? Until your lips just get worn out from saying enough. There's so much good stuff already, i.e. that you're just going to keep on getting more and more stuff, and we're never going to pray that it should stop. Rami by reviewed with Megillah uvigola masrin aleh. But in Bavel we could cry out for too much rain if there's too much rain, because then everything can get flooded. Taanis, we also learn in a verse like this: Shana Gishameh Merubin, that a year that there is a lot of rain. On Shemishmer Sholchan on Shemaimed, the Kohanim and the Mishmar send to the Maimed, the people who pray for the korbanos, pay special attention to your brethren in the galus, in Bavel, that their houses should not be their tombs, i.e. the rain shouldn't flood them out. They asked Rabbi Eliezer, at what point can we start praying that the rain should chill out? If a fellow could stand in this place that's called Keren Ofel, which is really, really high up, and his feet are covered in water because there's so much rain that it's reaching all the top already of Keren Ofel, at that point you could stop praying for rain, i.e. it's never going to happen. We learn in a Brisa Yodab, we say until his hands are in the water at Keren Ofel. So Raglav Kiyod of Kamino, mean his hands like his legs, meaning if it's touching his legs, or if he can bend down and put his hands in it, so at that point it's too much rain. But it's never going to get to that point because Keren Ofel is super high up. Says Rabbi Barchana that one time he saw Keren Ofel, and when viewing down below from the top of Keren Ofel, he saw a Arab merchant, Kirachim Gamla, who was riding a camel, v'naked romcha biyadei mischazi iniva, and he was holding a spear in his hand, and it looked like a worm. Friends, that was daf Chav Beis of Masechta Taanis. We saw some interesting gemaras about people in the shuk who were people of the world to come, and broke a chozah with Eliyahu Hanavi. Super interesting stuff. Friends, that was daf Chav Beis of Masechta Taanis. Hope you enjoyed. Peace out.